Like a lot of times, yoga teachers are getting underpaid, and if you're dedicating your full time to that you don't have a second job to support you, it comes to a point that you've made this whole life change, this shift, like I did. I quit my office job and I dedicated myself 100% to teaching yoga. But I found myself in this rat race again. We were 14 women and we all got up and we got around her and we gave her the biggest hug and everybody started crying. And later on, she shared with me that that was like such a gift that she received from that moment and from the retreat and the group.
Vanakkam, Namaste, and hello everyone. Welcome to the 70th episode of Inside the Minds of Great Yogis. In today's episode, we have a very special guest, Karol de Souza. Karol de Souza is originally from Brazil and has been residing in Portugal for the past 6 years. With 20 years of experience in yoga, beginning at the age of 16, Karol became a certified yoga teacher in 2017. In the midst of the pandemic, she launched her first online membership and began hosting retreats. 2 years ago, she introduced her first online coaching course. Since then, she has built a thriving community of women who support one another on their journeys to live their best lives through yoga, personal development retreats, and business coaching for yoga teachers. This initiative empowers yoga teachers to guide other women in transforming lives. Passionate about learning and sharing knowledge, Karol's mission is to exponentially increase her impact and empower as many women as possible. It is a pleasure to welcome Karol de Souza on the Inside the Minds of Great Yogis podcast. So let's give a big round of applause to Karol.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Really feeling honored to be here today. So thanks for the invitation.
Hello, Karol. Thank you so much for joining me on the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really good. And yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm very excited to hear about your journey of yoga. So on that note, we'll get started. And the first question that I have for you today is, how did your journey of yoga begin?
So my dad was a chiropractor, and he was also doing some other like meditation and holistic courses when I was really young, when I was about like 7, 8 years old. So I was introduced to the concept of like awareness and meditation and all of these things like very early in life. So when I turned 15 or 16, and yoga exploded in Brazil. There was this guy who brought yoga over to Brazil, and it was like a really hip thing back then. So it really made me curious to find out more about it. So that's how I started in my journey in yoga. I was like about 16. I was still in school, and I started practicing regularly in a school that was nearby my house. And yeah, and I just fell in love with it. It was something that was always present in my life, even going to university. A few years later, I moved to Australia, went to university there. I returned to Brazil, but it was something that it was always present. And eventually, when I was 27, I just decided to, quit my office job and dedicate my full time to my passion for yoga and my passion for teaching.
Well said. Thank you for sharing a little bit about how you got introduced to the practice of yoga. So now I'm going to come into the next question that I have for you. And I was wondering, what are some key lessons that you've learned through building an online community of women? And how has that shaped your approach to teaching?
Yeah, that's a great question because for me, moving on to like being really present online allow me to expand this community to what's today a really international community. And of course, like bringing to my retreats and my even like my online coaching, bringing people from all different backgrounds and walks of life, from different countries. And yeah, it's really fascinating to gather all these people together and to realize that there's always something that links us together and that's in common in between all of us. And especially when I do the groups with the retreats,
Mhm.
it's really beautiful to see that everybody there has something to share that the other one needs a lot.
Mhm.
So it's not really about like putting yourself as in a standard, I'm the teacher, I'm teaching, and you guys just learn. It's really like this huge exchange, right? Like I'm learning from them, they are learning from me, they are learning from each other. We all have different experiences in life, like depending on the background you come from, depending on the story that you live, like in your life, the different problems, difficulties you went through. And that's what's so beautiful about building an online community, because people from all cultures and backgrounds get to come together and do this sharing and this exchange, and that's what I've learned so much from building this international community online.
I love that. And yoga is definitely a great way of exchanging knowledge with everyone, right? So I definitely agree with that. And thank you for sharing a little bit about it there. And now I would like to come into the next question that I have for you. So, you've combined yoga with personal development and business skills for yoga teachers. So, I was wondering, what is the connection between those elements, and why do you think it's important for yoga teachers to learn business skills? Like, what is the importance of that there?
So there were two big moments in my life. The first one was when I went through a food disorder, and that created also an anxiety disorder. And that made me focus a lot on combining other personal development tools with yoga, because that's the way I dealt with my healing, right? Like yoga helped me a huge deal with self-soothing and, regulating my emotions and my anxiety. But I also had to look for other tools. Like I did therapy for a really long time. I also went a little bit deeper into family patterns and things that I really needed to change in order to bring inner peace. So I combined all of these different tools that I've learned in my walk of healing in my retreat experiences, right? And another moment came more related to my teaching. I came to a point that I was teaching a lot of classes, and sometimes, unfortunately, this is not a profession that is very well valued, right? Like a lot of times, yoga teachers are getting underpaid, and if you're dedicating your full time to that, that you don't have a second job to support you, it comes to a point that you've made this whole life change, this shift, like I did. I quit my office job and I dedicated myself 100% to teaching yoga. But I found myself in this rat race again, that I'm just like constantly working. I don't have life quality. I don't have time for my self practice. All my prime time is taken because you're mostly teaching early in the morning or later in the day. So you don't have, you can't just wake up and dedicate, 2 hours of your time for your practice. And at the end of the day, when you want to be home cooking dinner and going to bed early, sometimes you're teaching a class at the studio at 6 or 7 in the evening, right?
Yeah.
So I realized that that was not really my calling. Like I was teaching 3, 4 classes, 6 days a week.
Mhm.
It just felt like a really tight schedule for me, and I wanted a little bit more time so I could live the life that I wanted with the time flexibility and all of the things that I quit my office job in the first place for, right?
Yeah.
And so I realized that I needed to learn some business skills, like some sales skills, in order to also sell the things that I wanted to pass on to people.
Mhm.
Because, like I said, that's where I found the connection, right? I went through a really tough time in my life. That was something that it took me 3 or 4 years to like feel completely recover from that.
Mhm.
And I know that the type of lifestyle that we live nowadays, a lot of my students who come to the retreats are on the verge of a burnout, or they're already burnout, or they have like a lot of anxiety. And so I wanted to help people to heal and find inner peace just the way I did. And I started that with hosting retreats. But I had no idea about how to host retreats, like how to sell retreats, like the business side of it. I could put it together, I can teach, but I had no idea how to make it happen, right? How do I promote myself online? How do I do paperwork? How do I do my accounting? How do I do taxes? How do I promote myself on the online world? And so all of these things made me go and study marketing
Mhm.
and for myself in the first place. And then I also created some online memberships and all of this to kind of like complement my income with the classes I was teaching in the studio. But it kind of like blew out of proportion in a way that, I was started off with one retreat and then two retreats. Last year, I hosted six retreats, a teacher training. I also created my online program to support yoga teachers on the same journey because I feel like I kind of like cracked the code and I feel that it's my mission to help other yoga teachers to live
Mhm.
their truth, right?
Yeah.
Which is we all want balance and inner peace. And in order to be able to provide that for our students, we need to be living that reality ourselves. And that's how I somehow found the link between personal development, yoga, and business.
I love that. And I think you're doing a really important work because business skills is something that's very important. It's really important as yoga teachers, especially you know how to market your things so that market your classes as well as retreats. So I think it's a really important work that you're doing there. So thank you for sharing a little about it there. And now I want to come into the next question. I know you touched a little bit on retreats. So I was wondering, can you share a sort of a memorable moment from one of your retreats that really sort of highlighted the impact of your work in your community?
Yeah, I don't have to think a lot to remember this moment because it was really special. And we were doing an exercise that you had to find like some sort of like conflict that you were going through,
Mhm.
and then find out what kind of resource that you felt you were lacking or missing in order to solve that conflict, right?
Mhm.
And once you found that resource, the exercise was to find another situation in your life
Yeah.
where you felt that that resource was very present, right? Because sometimes we feel really courageous with certain things
Mhm.
and and really scared with other things. So the exercise is to find a situation in which that resource was plentiful and then bring that to the situation where the resource is scarce. And so this girl, she had, for her, the resource that was missing in this particular situation was to feel loved and supported. And she was having a really hard time with this exercise because she could not find another situation in her life in which she felt that being loved and supported was plentiful. And when she said that, and she was really courageous because she shared that with the whole group. And we were 14 women, and we all got up and we got around her and we gave her the biggest hug, and everybody started crying. And later on, she shared with me that that was like such a gift that she received from that moment and from the retreat and the group, because now she had this moment that she could really feel that being loved and supported was plentiful. And that was for me like reading it and the way she shared it was like brought tears to my eyes. And in testimonials like this, it makes it all worth it, like all putting it together. The retreats is like it's a lot of work, but when you hear that you're making a difference in the world, you're making an impact, you can transform people's life, that is so worth it. And I will never forget that moment. That's something that I held to this day.
That's beautiful. And I think helping people and especially with yoga, I think the beauty of it is that you have a community, right? So when you feel supported and loved, especially with like a whole group with you and that's sort of behind you. So I think that's really beautiful. So thank you for sharing a little bit about the memorable moment from one of your retreats there. So now I have some rapid fire questions for you. And the first question that I'd like to get into is, what's the best piece of advice that you received as a yoga teacher?
I would say that the best piece of advice
Mhm.
is to always continue being a yoga teacher, but always thinking of yourself as a student. So always keeping that humbleness and curiosity that no matter how much you know, you can always learn more. And yeah, that curiosity took me to so many different places and to learn so many different things, just keeping my heart open for whatever experience and whatever I have to learn, not necessarily, somebody who's above me, but, could be somebody in my own groups. I learn from them as well. So just keeping that mindset open to not know that you don't know everything and keeping an open heart to continuously learn and continuously learn from everybody.
Yeah, I love that. And I think confidence is good, but overconfidence could be a little harmful, right? So I absolutely love how you mentioned about like keeping that humbleness and like being really down to earth, especially with the information that you sort of come across. So thank you for sharing that there. And the next question that I have for you is, which business skill do you think yoga teachers should master?
I would say business strategy and sales skills. These are the two things that you can't escape from. I mean, especially if you're doing this full time, like I said, if you have a job, a second job that supports you, then you don't have that pressure, the financial pressure to support yourself. And I know how that pressure can really break you and make you feel, super stressed and unbalanced. And so we don't learn these skills in yoga school, and it's something that we have to do it apart in different courses, and something that we have to chase later on for ourselves. But I would say that not having business and sales skills, if you want to do this as a full-time job, if you want to, dive in, you dedicate your whole life for it and bring on deep transformation to your students beyond the walls of the studio, because as we all know, like, people come to the studio, they have a short amount of time. Classes in studio nowadays are like 1 hour. Sometimes even in big cities they are offering 45 minutes classes. And as a yoga teacher, at some point you feel that you have more to share and you want to go deeper, right? And so at some point in your journey as a yoga teacher, you might feel that you want to share more. You might want to feel that you want to give courses, trainings, workshops, retreats, whatever. And in order to make it in this world with all these yoga teachers, we need to be able to differentiate yourselves or ourselves in order to reach the students that need us. And to do that, we need to have marketing skills, business skills, sales skills.
Thank you for sharing that there. And the final question that I have for you is, what's the best piece of advice that you've received as a yoga teacher?
So one thing that comes for me quite a lot is like, I don't even know if this is like a piece of advice that I've heard from somebody, but just something that I found out along the way, was to be yourself. Because sometimes when you learn from a teacher you admire, we tend to want to replicate or copy what they do, even like the way they stand, what they say, the way they say it, the tone of voice, right? And I think you end up losing yourself on the way and losing your authenticity because at the end of the day, you will always going to find students who are there for you, not just as you as a yoga teacher, but the person you are, right?
Mhm.
Something about you that resonates with them. So trying to find your own style. So if you're funny in life, you should be funny in your classes as well. You shouldn't be a completely different person. So trying to bring more of you, of your personality to your classes and to your workshops or whatever it is that you're offering instead of trying to be somebody else that you're not.
Absolutely, I love that. And I think being yourself and just being unique will definitely make your classes different from someone else. So I think it's really important, as you mentioned there, to be yourself. So thank you for sharing that there. And that is the end of our questions. So thank you so much for joining me on the 70th episode of Inside the Minds of Great Yogis, Carol. It was a pleasure speaking with you. And I really enjoyed hearing your perspectives of yoga. And I hope we're able to do this again. And I would also like to thank everyone else who's yet to listen to our 70th episode of Inside the Minds of Great Yogis. And until next time, I hope everyone has a great day. And thank you so much for joining me, Carol.
Thank you so much. Have a great day, everybody. Have a great day, you also.
Thank you. Thank you.